Hello, folks. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. We're going to be starting in just 1 minute. We're waiting for a couple of other folks to hop on. And I can see the slides, so that looks good.
Okay.
Okay, folks, hey, thank you for joining us. My name is Jim Adams, and I'm the Vice President of Worldwide Channels here at Adlumin. I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us for the session, whether you're on the East Coast or the West Coast, so good morning or good afternoon, depending upon where you are. This is another one of our monthly Lumen Advantage Thought Leadership webinar series. So every month, we try to put together a session that helps you create value for your customers. So these are educational sessions around cybersecurity in the market, and hopefully you're finding value in these and you can use them to, again, further your sales and add more value to solving your customers' business problems. Before we get going, I just want to take care of a couple of housekeeping items. Number one, everybody should be joined on mute. We are going to be doing a Q&A session towards the end of our webinar. So if you have a question, a couple of things you can do. At the end of the session during our Q&A, please feel free to ask it then. We'll be opening up the lines. Or in the interim, you can put your question into the chat window or into the question window, and we'll be sure and address it when we're done with the session. Also a reminder, this session will be recorded so that you can play back the session later on to listen to it or distribute it throughout your organization as is appropriate. And we'll be posting this session both on email and on our secure partner portal. So if you're already an existing Adlumin partner, you'll be having access to the session when we're done. So with that, let me just launch into the agenda, and we'll get a sense of what we're going to be covering. Tim, if you can go to the next slide.
Okay.
Great. So what we're going to talk about today is the SIEM marketplace and what differentiates what we call a traditional SIEM from a next generation SIEM. So our special guest speaker today is Tim Evans. Tim is one of the co-founders of Adlumin. He came from the military. He's been in cybersecurity for years. He actually was part of the NSA and ran a hacking squadron within the NSA, where his team hacked into adversarial foreign governments. So he's got a lot of experience with cybersecurity and a lot of experience with how bad actors can infiltrate a network. Tim is going to walk you through an overview of the SIEM marketplace again. He's going to talk about SIEMs and what it is that they do, how they work, and how they ingest data and what they ingest. But then he's going to get more specific about the next generation SIEM, and specifically what you should be talking to your customers about that a next generation SIEM can deliver that's completely differentiated from some of the traditional models that they may be familiar with. He'll talk to you about those features that you should demand in your next generation SIEM, and then we'll wrap up with a little bit on our partner program and how you can become an Adlumin partner, and then of course we'll do Q&A. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our special guest speaker for today, retired Colonel Tim Evans, co-founder of Adlumin, who's going to walk us through the content and the SIEM market. So Tim, with that, it's all yours.
All right, excellent. So we'll talk about a number of different things today, and then Jim will talk about the business at the end, as he said. So with that, let's talk about really. Let me get to my slide here. Sorry about that. And I need three desktop monitors, Jim. I can see that. I can see that would be helpful. So first, I mean, really, what's the SIEM? And today, just like the legacy SIEMs, really the purpose is simply to ingest security logs. It ingests security logs, it ingests firewalls, VPNs, and then it uses, if it has data science, it uses that to analyze the data that's coming in to let you know, is there a possibility that somebody's in your network? I mean, that's really the bottom line. It also gives you compliance features and compliance reporting depending upon that purpose of that SIEM. As far as security log and event management information, we'll talk about that a little bit more when we talk about the sources that we ingest, because it used to be SIEM and SIEM, and now it's SIEM together because it's ingesting everything. There was no way to do that before. And then if you look at the alternatives to what you could use instead of a SIEM, would be things like Netrix, which is log management, Manage Engine, Retrace. There's a number of just log managers, but the purpose of a SIEM is to give you really full visibility of your network. In fact, Adlumin, if you don't know how to say it, think of it this way: add luminosity or add visibility to the network. That's what Adlumin's all about. So people that could look at their network before and not see what's going on, the goal is for a SIEM is to let you see everything that's happening on your network and look for the things that are dangerous for you. So I can't tell you, and probably for my service providers, resellers out there, I can't tell you the number of times you've probably heard, it's okay, I have such and such a company watching my firewall traffic. No one could get in or out without them seeing what's really going on. They'll let me know if it's bad. If you've heard that before, it's completely wrong. They clearly don't understand networking. So as a provider, you kind of need to find out what they think about their network and do they think they're protected. So, and if they tell you that their firewall traffic's being monitored, they don't need anything else, they clearly don't know. And so then it's going to give you a great opportunity to actually talk with them about what a SIEM does. And then, a lot of people have endpoint security, but it's usually an antivirus, right? Like whether it's Sophos or Cylance, those are great. You got to keep those. That protects your network. A SIEM will also ingest that security data and use it to determine if there are other detections that we should be concerned about. And we'll talk about that as we go through the platform. I spent 6 years as a commanding officer of a hacking squadron. So, my guys and gals went out across the globe into our adversary networks, and we were frankly it was pretty easy to break into people's networks. However, today, when we start to talk about artificial intelligence and machine learning, not so easy anymore. I'm glad I'm not a hacking commander today, because if somebody has artificial intelligence and machine learning, which lots of organizations do today, my job would have been 10 times more difficult. So what types of data do SIEMs typically ingest? And you guys can feel free to ask questions. Just take yourself off mute. I think you can do that. But if not, you can also go into the chat box, and I will keep chat open so I can see your questions. So if you have a question, you want to ask it, put it in the chat box, and I'll get your question answered for you. And Jim will remind me if I don't see them. Thank you, Jim.
Yeah, I'll continue to monitor it as well, Tim. Thanks.
All right, cool. So, the kinds of devices, the firewall traffic, and, it depends. Like some people have firewall traffic that is being managed at a service provider's location. That's okay. A SIEM can still ingest it from anywhere. Like with Adlumin, whether it's the software that determines where that traffic will go to. And we all want everybody's traffic to go to our cloud instance, which is in AWS. It's two-factor authentication to get into our security data, AWS. So it's just very, very difficult for anybody to get in. Anything's always possible, but our platform is very secure, and it's all in the United States for Adlumin. There are a lot of SIEMs out there that have overseas data centers that they pay less for. But again, I want the best data center. Ours sits out in Portland, Oregon, where we have a serverless architecture, which is different probably than most SIEMs out there. Even if you're talking about Logarithms, Splunk, et cetera, most of them don't have a serverless architecture. And that serverless architecture that Adlumin has, and I'll just let you know, makes it, we don't drop logs. If somebody has a virtual appliance or a hardware appliance that you're tapping, some point in your headquarters network so you can get all of the data, you're going to get about 60% of the data that you need to correlate all activities on the endpoint with all of your other lateral movement detections. So you don't want to do that. You want to be on every endpoint so that I can see that if John or Susan logs on to the endpoint, then they go in and they come in and they log on to an internal system. I can see that in the platform, and I have 100% of correlation with an endpoint agent for a SIEM. We call it an intelligent forwarder because it knows exactly what it wants to ingest and then get into the cloud. And the events that it ingests, very, very small. So think of it this way. Someone logs on to an endpoint, right? It takes 1 kilobyte. It's a 1 kilobyte transaction. And typically that will go into our platform in AWS out in Portland. That 1 kilobyte will take milliseconds to get there, and we'll already be running data science over it by the time it gets there. So with that, I mean, let's move on here. So how does a SIEM work? How does SIEM work? I mean, it does a couple of things for you. Number one, it's supposed to analyze all of your traffic, right? You want it to analyze your traffic to make sure that things are operating the way they're supposed to operate. You have servers on your network, and those servers, guess what? They only talk to specific devices or to specific other servers. They typically don't talk to individual laptops and desktops in your network, but what our platform will do is it'll lay down a pattern of behavior. And so ultimately, we're going to talk about user and entity behavior analytics, but I want you to understand what a SIEM can do as well as what many SIEMs do, which is different. So with compliance, with most SIEMs, they'll look for compliance violations. For instance, if they see a stale account, they should tell you this is a stale account and it's a violation under PCI. Adlumin does that. Probably Logarithm and some other SIEMs do the exact same thing for compliance. But you want your staff, your administrative staff that run your network to know when there's a compliance violation because they should correct it. Why? What if we don't comply with PCI? Do I really want to correct all those PCI violations? And my answer to you is yes, you do. The reason is because you don't want to make your network more insecure. By correcting a PCI violation on the network, you actually reduce the surface attack area of your network. All right, so let's start at the beginning. Begin the beguine. Here's your log data sources. Endpoints, security devices, security apps, network devices. Any question that you have on devices that you want to ingest? Either open up your unmute yourself or put the question into the chat box. The second step is going to be that data management layer. So remember, Adlumin, for instance, is sitting on every laptop, desktop, and server in your enterprise network. That's good because we're going to be able to correlate any activity from any laptop, desktop, or server in your network to where it goes outside the network. Or if it comes in from the outside and then it starts to move around your network, we're going to catch an account that's doing lateral movement within the network. That's how you catch one of these detections where you've never seen this type of attack before. That's what artificial intelligence and machine learning is all about. Otherwise, it's only going to detect things that you've manually set in the platform, and you definitely do not want that. All right. Let's go on to the next slide here. So the next layer within the SIEM is that analytics layer. And this is where we're putting out in Adlumin. Most SIEMs do not have threat intelligence feeds. I'll just let you know that up front. Because a SIEM is designed to ingest data, most SIEMs do not give you threat feeds. If they give you a threat feed, it will be a single threat feed. But with Adlumin, we're going to give you 3 threat feeds. Hybrid analysis, which is CrowdStrike, the Open Threat Exchange, which has 100,000 members across 140 countries, and then hybrid analysis is the 3rd threat feed. And every day we're going to download millions of indicators of compromise and go through traffic on your network to see if we see any of those IP addresses that are bad. Things like phishing holes or watering holes that download malware if someone clicks on them. So you always want to make sure that the network traffic doesn't contain those, and that's why Adlumin does that. This is also where you would look for manual things, like if you want to know when someone adds a new account to the network, you should get a detection for that. Why? I mean, it might be a little bit of noise for you, but wonder if it's an intruder that's creating accounts on your network. Then it might be an actual attack. So you have to monitor it and then just dismiss it. You know what you've done. The administrative staff on the network knows what accounts it's created. So we're going to give them detections for those things, because if an intruder gets in, they will create those same exact things. They'll add members to a privileged group. They'll create accounts, new accounts with administrator privileges guaranteed. And those are the things you must track. And with Adlumin, that's all set to monitor that right out of the box. Also, you need to think about, what does your client want? Do they want to have a security operations center? Then you need to think about the SIEM and the security operations center. With Adlumin, we have a security operations center. It's our center. It only uses our SIEM within the SOC. Our product's called Overwatch, but your client can not only have the SIEM, they can also have the SOC as well. And so the SOC would answer all of the detections, clear them out, take action where necessary, let your customers know that someone's in the network, and it'll do all that for you without you being involved in the loop at all. Plus, you want to watch for your clients that have compliance requirements. If they collect credit cards, or that somebody uses credit cards, they're required to comply with PCI. So, if you're thinking about in the back of your head, which of my clients need a SIEM, these are the questions you want to ask. If they have compliance requirements that they must meet for their business needs. If it's a hospital, it's got to require HIPAA. Adlumin monitors for HIPAA violations. It'll come up and show them where there's HIPAA violations. A lot of people don't have to comply with PCI or HIPAA, but they want to comply with NIST because they think if they do that, it's going to be safer. And they're right, it is going to be safer. And we're going to help them know when there's a NIST cybersecurity framework violation on their network. And then the final layer is that interactive layer. This is where your customers will come in. They'll be able to print off reports in the dashboard. They'll be able to do audits of things, like they might want to print off a report of all failed login accounts on the network, right? But ultimately, that stuff is all going to be in the dashboard for Adlumin, and should be in the dashboard for other SIEMs, but you just need to check and see if it gives you notification of that. And then real-time alerting. If you've ever known someone that has Splunk, chances are they didn't buy the AI and machine learning because it costs about as much as the SIEM does. But with Adlumin, we give you built-in AI and machine learning, and it lays down those patterns of behavior, and it really will catch that next attack that you have no idea what it looks like, if that makes sense to you. Any questions? Are we doing good? Okay, excellent. So, if you're looking at buying a NextGen SIEM or selling, a NextGen SIEM, or if you're a reseller or referring people to look at a NextGen SIEM, these are the things that you want to make sure are in that SIEM. Okay, sorry about that. So now let's talk about those features that you'd want to think about. So in order to help you think about the features, you want to think about the SIEM as a whole. So number one, does the SIEM have hardware? hardware's not always the best solution. In fact, in this case, a hardware tap somewhere in the middle of the network, it's going to get you 60% to 70% of the data that you need to do correlation between every endpoint and every server and every individual that's on your network. So, a next-gen SIEM shouldn't really have hardware. It should be able to be completely run on software. So that's probably one of the questions you want to ask when you're looking at a SIEM. How does it deploy? If it requires a person to come to your customer's enterprise to actually physically visit, you should tell them you don't want to talk to them anymore, because that is definitely not what happens with a next-gen SIEM. A next-gen SIEM, it's all software. I get on with, or Adlumin gets on with all of the clients that buy our product, and we deploy with them online in real time. We answer all their questions. We get their devices all working and connected. We deploy our intelligent agents, intelligent forwarders across their network of laptops, desktops, and servers, and it just starts to ingest. Guess how long it takes? You should ask any SIEM that you're looking at, how long does it take to deploy your network or deploy your SIEM, and how long will it take till it will start working for our client and show them the value of the SIEM? If they say, it takes 30, 60, 90 days to kind of tune it and make sure it's working, I would say I would walk away from that, because you don't need that. In today's day and age, our SIEM is set up, it deploys in under 90 minutes. Usually it's much quicker than that, because there's not much to do. And then it starts working immediately. We give every customer, every one of your customers that you would like to sell Adlumin to, a 2-week proof of value where they can see all of their data at no cost and no risk to them. And at the end of the 2 weeks, if they want to walk away, I'll be sad. I'll be sad for sure. But it doesn't happen very often. Let me tell you this, if you can get your client to do a proof of value with Adlumin, in 5 years, I've had 2 companies not buy the SIEM that did a proof of value. That's a pretty powerful statement. Now, there may be some circumstances with your client in the future. I mean, like if they don't have a budget built or something, typically we wait till they have a budget built, and then we do the 2-week proof of value with them, but we'll do it however you want to do it with them. And then the third question is, does the SIEM collect and analyze data in real time? Real-time alerts are where it's at. If it's not real time, let me tell you what's not real time. Splunk is not real time. Splunk is one of those SIEMs in the upper right-hand quadrant in Gartner, but it takes 30, 60, 90. I did a demo for a client, the largest power company in Virginia, and they had had Splunk for a year and a half. They couldn't get it to integrate with their network completely in a year and a half. I'm thinking, buy a new SIEM, but they had already paid for a 3-year SIEM, so they kept it. But that 3 years is about up right now. I think it was about a year and a half. I need to go back and talk with them. But those are questions that you need to ask about the SIEM in advance. So these are great questions. Data correlation. Does your SIEM continuously analyze data? Or does it do it one time and then it puts it in and then you're done with that? No, you don't want that. You want a SIEM that continuously takes in events. Here's an event, there's an event. Now that same account's got another event. All of a sudden, Adlumin sees the big picture in real time and it goes, this looks like a hack. The 2 individual events, they look like nothing. The 3rd event, it looks like a hack. This is odd. It's at least anomalous, and you need to go look at that detection. So you want a real-time detection, not something not in real time. And you want it to continuously analyze data, not just a one-time analysis. And then finally, storage and retention. Can your client keep a year's worth of data in the platform? If they can't, that's a problem. Even if they keep it online, but it's not in the platform and searchable, that's not good. With Adlumin, you can keep a year's worth of data in the platform. It's always searchable. You can always make reports up from 6 months ago or 9 months ago up to a year once you decide to keep your data for a year. And we call that feature, by the way, just to let you know, Snapshot 365. It lets your clients keep every single log that we've ingested for them for an entire year. Okay, so now we're talking about the monitoring, the analytics layer. So number one, we're always, for detections, we're giving you AI detections, but you need to ask about the SIEM. Does it have AI, artificial intelligence? And more specifically, you want to ask if it has UEBA, User and Entity Behavior Analytics. If it does, that's a start. But every UEBA, data science monitoring, is proprietary unless they're selling somebody else's SIEM. So all of Adlumin's data science is proprietary. And guess what? We have a big team. And you're probably thinking, well, are your data analytics good? Well, I don't know. We got an F-35 contract from the US Air Force last year because they want to use our data analytics to monitor their network of F-35 data streams 24/7, 365. So our data science is really good and our team's really good. So, that's a question that you want to ask, though, is when you're doing analytics, are you actually using AI to do that analysis? And you can see Perch Security, Alien Vault, SolarWinds, Splunk don't have AI. Many of the other SIEMs do, but you need to ask that question up front. I would not personally get a SIEM, even if it wasn't Adlumin's. I wouldn't get a SIEM without AI and machine learning, that UEBA. And if you don't know what that is, I'll put it in the chat box here, but go out and after we're done with this, go out and Google UEBA. Tons of stuff will come out. We're going to get you some data sheets that talk about our user entity behavior analytics when we get done here with the platform demo, our slides. Auditing, you want to make sure it looks at least the main, the main regimes of compliance monitoring out there: PCI, SOX, HIPAA. All of them are very similar in what they look for. So if they have to monitor for compliance, then they probably need to comply with one of those regimes. And then threat intelligence, you really want to make sure the SIEM that you're selling to your customers gives them additional security. I mean, a SIEM is not inexpensive, but Adlumin is probably one of the more reasonably priced SIEMs on the planet. Yet, as you can already see, we include everything that we tell you should look for. And maybe there are other SIEMs also that have all those features, but when you're looking at a SIEM, you definitely want to make sure that it has all of these things. So, automation, does it ingest Office 365? Does it give you additional data about that? And I think, let me just look at, we're going to talk about the layer interface, but instead of going through slides and layer interface, I'm going to jump into the SIEM platform itself, and I'll show you that. But incident response, does your SIEM easily scope a potential breach? Does it make it easy to research whether something bad really happened? How about hunting? Does your SIEM hunt 24/7, 365 for anomalies on your network? If it has AI and user and entity behavior analytics like Adlumin, the answer is yes. If it does not, it is not. And then compliance here, and then forensics analysis. And I think that's what we'll do. Let's go and look at the user interface. So right now I'm going to pop out of this. I don't think you can see anything right now, but you're going to see something here shortly. Tell me when you can, or I guess Jim, you can tell me when you see the dashboard. Oops.
The your calendar just popped up.
Okay, let me pop onto the right. There we are, sharing. Bingo. All right. Let me go down to Google Chrome. Can you see the dashboard now?
Yes, we can.
All right, excellent. So, this is you already know kind of the features that you need to look for, the baseline, the analytics, the threat feeds. Let me just show you really quick, and then we'll kind of be done with this part of the demo. But things that you may or may not have seen, like, here's our dashboard. Here's network health and compliance right up front. Detection analysis is where we'll see things like, threat intelligence or user behavior outside the normal pattern of life. That's where you'll see those types of things. You should also be able to do, research on anything that happens on your network so you can figure out if it was a breach, right? Every one of these tools, these are going to be different than what you've seen in other SIEMs. Why is that? Because Rob and I decided to make this SIEM understandable to the normal person. Like, this is a share to account. So if I put in a shared drive name here, and it already knows all my shared drives, and I put in a time frame, it's going to tell me who's logged into those shares in whatever time frame I accept or I set down there. How about a system to account? I can put any system on my network in, and they're all there, right? Like, they're all already populating because my platform knows what systems it's monitoring. And then I could say, let's look at the last 30 days of that particular system and see what's going on with that system, because I've had a couple of detections. It's going to tell me all the detections. It's going to tell me everything about that. And then if I want to go look at other investigation, if I just go to investigate, let me make this a little bit bigger. Let me show you how powerful this SIEM tool for investigation is. I can select all these. I just go down and say, I want to know every system, every account, every access event, process execution, log clearing, file creation on the network, and I want to know all of it in the last 7 days. I click that button, and I've already done it here, so we don't have to wait, because we're in the don't wait type of time frame for, I think, people in this universe. So here's all access events, and it would only take about 1.5 minutes probably to do that. It might even be less than a minute. But user process execution. This is every program opened up, Chrome, lots of Chromes on my network in the last 7 days. Teams, somebody opened up Teams. If it was PowerPoint, it would say PPT or PowerPoint. And then I can look at all object manipulations. So every account that was created or changed on my network in the last 30 days. This records every file name that was created. So, if I just created a PowerPoint, this PowerPoint that I'm using earlier, it would show PowerPoint, the name of the PowerPoint, the path, the file path that I saved it to on the network. And if somebody were looking to that, all they'd have to do is go right here and search for PPT, and it's going to tell me every PPT on the entire network right there. It's going to bring them all those events up. And why is that important? Because for some institutions, like we have a biomedical company that has very, very valuable intellectual property because they happen to be one of the vaccines that's out right now. And that company, every time an employee leaves their employ, they search the last 90 days for every file that employee downloaded on the network or created on their laptop or desktop that's covered by Adlumin. So they're going to know the file name. So even if somebody were to steal this patent, and this patent, and they created their own file that said all great patents from so-and-so company, then you're going to see that file name in their creation and where they saved it. You go see what it is. You own the network. But here's all Linux and Unix events. Here's all USB drive events. So if your client has a USB policy that says nobody gets to use USB drives, we're perfect. We're gonna not stop them from using a USB drive, but we're gonna tell you this person just used a USB drive on this desktop, and the drive had 0 gigabytes available. Its name was General USB, but in this case, we even know the serial number of that USB drive. And then you can go and tell them it's the exact time. You can say, hey, John, we told you not to use USB drives, but I can see you used one at this exact time. There's nothing John can say that he didn't use a USB drive. You recorded it. Remote code execution, service manipulation, log clearing. The only people log clearing should be your system administrator or intruders on the network. So that's why we give you a detection if that happens. But I think you can see we make it really easy to do research. You know, for reporting, we've got great reporting in here. And you know, here's the general reports that your users would probably want to hand to their auditors. Things like an access failure report or firewall modification report, or you know, a privilege use report. That's what auditors want to know. But under executive reports, your clients will get reports that are full color. That, by the way, we're working on it so that you could put your logo in those reports for your client so they know that it's your company they're getting this product from. They can also have, and this is like a board and IT steering committee report. It's high level metrics off the network, the enterprise network, with graphs and pictures, things that, you know, about 10 pages of items that won't put their board of directors to sleep. Office 365 report or detection analysis report. And if I go down to completed reports right here, let's open up, let's see if I can find a board and IT steering committee. Here we go. Here's a board and IT steering committee. It was produced on January 29th. So there we go. We go down. Now, this is a report that you could hand to your board of directors if you're briefing them on the risk presented by the network. And you know, you can look here and say, I want to talk to you. Go ahead, board of directors, and click on device activity. Let's talk about the devices that Adlumin's been monitoring for us this month. Now, if your board, if the client that you sold this platform to can show their board of directors the events that were monitored by the SIEM that you sold them, do you think they're ever going to leave you as a client? My guess is actually probably no. It's going to make it so valuable to them that, you know, they're not going to leave you. Also, it's going to talk about endpoint activity, a darknet exposure, accounts they've lost on the deep and dark web. You know, here's detections analysis, brute force attacks, denial of service, port scanning, malware activity, other attack patterns that Adlumin's seen that it can't categorize, and then top detection types down here. But it makes it really a powerful tool for your client to use on their network. We got just a couple of minutes here. I'm almost done, but let's talk about some of the other security tools that we give you. We're going to give your clients perimeter defense. They're going to be able to, a company comes in here, puts all of their IP range that they own, so all their IP addresses, including like their website, and then Adlumin, we've already purchased a product. It's separate. It's included in the cost. This product is. Shodan is the tool that we pay them to use in our platform. It's going to, once your client puts their IP addresses in, it's going to monitor those devices for known vulnerabilities. It's going to look for SSL certificates that are expired or expiring, and it's going to continuously monitor for port changes on the IP address range that belongs to your clients. Why do we do that? Because ports that all of a sudden open, guess what my team used to do when we hack somebody? We'd create some ports that we could communicate with that nobody monitors. However, in this case, all of the IP address range are monitored. So we'd be looking for that traffic right there. I think that pretty much, you know, you can see like, you know, here's our threat intelligence portal, hybrid analysis, virus total. Those are the threat feeds we're giving you. Why do we use Open Threat Exchange? Because FBI, FFIEC, which is the Federal Financial Institution Examination Council for banks, puts all, and DHS and NSA all put their indicators of compromise into Open Threat Exchange. That's why we use it. And, you know, ultimately, that's why we give you those threat feeds. We're going to find stuff on your client's network that are gonna get a detection set off by threat intelligence. Also, we're gonna give your clients, like I can't show you everything. Well, let's talk about devices here. All of your clients' firewall traffic, not only are we gonna ingest it, but we are also going to answer questions about it. We're going to look at things like geo-analysis. We're going to geo-analyze all of your clients' firewall detections so that we're going to see every one of their, all of their firewall traffic in here, like where they're talking in the world, their business is communicating with. We're going to see that right there. They probably have no clue. They've never seen anything that does that for them. Same with VPN data. You know, we're going to see who's VPNing in every day here, and they're going to be able to track their VPN events down here, but they're going to see where in the world their VPNs are coming in from across the US. So if they've got remote reports, they're going to see that stuff there. Other device data, you know, we're going to take in things like Office 365, and we're going to enhance it for them. Here's an individual event from Office 365. This was a file access via SharePoint, but we're going to do that geo-analysis as well. So they're going to see if, and I looked at my clients this morning. We have lots on some of my clients. We have login failures from Russia. That means somebody is trying to hack into, you know, our client's bank from Russia using that Office 365 account, which they stole from someplace and then found on the deeper dark web. So I think that pretty much gets you everything in our platform, but it also lets you understand the importance of the features of the NextGen SIEM, that you really, whatever SIEM you have, you know, check these feature lists against that SIEM. And then also think about Adlumin. If you want to do an additional full-on 1-hour demo of Adlumin, which we did about 15 minutes here, you will see everything that our SIEM does. If you want to bring one of your clients in and do a demo, and I'll do the demo for your client as if it's only to them, but you're there as the overseer, I will absolutely do that for you without risk. Jim, at this point, do you want to take over from here?
Sure. If you want to put the deck back, and while you're putting the slide deck back, one question, I'm going to try to paraphrase it. How do we do our pricing, and what happens if a customer overconsumes based upon their data? So I guess what's our pricing model? What do we charge extra if they overconsume?
Let's see here.
While he's loading up the deck.
Okay, can you see? You can see the deck there.
Yeah, yeah. So just if you could just that quick question: how do we price our product, and what happens if a customer ingests more than they thought they were going to?
Right. So, you know, our SIEM only charges by the number of devices that the customer. So if they have, you know, they have 200 devices, it's priced by 200 devices. We have no data limits. They can ingest as much data from those 200 devices. That includes things like firewalls, VPNs, other applications. They can ingest all of that. Their price is never going to change ever. So same amount, they buy the product for a year at a time. The reseller or service provider is never going to have to go back to the client and say, sorry, this month it's going to cost you more. But there are a lot of SIEMs out there that you must do that with, or eat it, one or the other.
Exactly, exactly. Okay, I'm just checking. There are no more questions in the chat or the Q&A window. So again, we're going to have Q&A at the end of the session. We just got a couple more slides. I want to just wrap up. By the way, Tim, thank you very much. That was outstanding. I just want to kind of wrap up. You know, it's really important that you become subject matter experts in cybersecurity, and in particular for your customers, become that trusted advisor, and let them make a decision based upon full awareness and education of the different technologies that are in the market. Help them understand the difference between the legacy SIEM technologies and today's next generation SIEM that that Tim just described. So talk and make sure that they understand the level of capabilities and the features that they would be getting in a NextGen SIEM, like an Adlumin, that they may not be getting from some of their current providers. And use Adlumin as the example to show them the level of capabilities with the UEBA, the AI and the machine learning, the threat intelligence speeds, the deep and dark web tracking for breached and leaked credentials. So make sure that you use this platform as a way to help your customers understand what's out in the market. Next slide, if you could, Tim. So
Yep,
our
absolutely.
Advantage Partner Program, for those of you on the call today who are not currently Advantage partners and we're looking to develop a relationship with us, we really built the program around three major pillars. Number one, ease of doing business. We just want to make it easy for you to become an Advantage partner, but also easy for you to transact business with us. Number two, profitability. What we're going to see if you become an Advantage partner with us is very high margins. So rich margin opportunities on the product, as well as additional services that you can wrap around it. And then the third thing, we want to add value to your efforts. Again, what you saw Tim describe in the platform are additional value-added products, services, and capabilities that you can bring to your customers to help solve their problem. It's an open access program, which means we don't have any barriers for you to become a partner, no certification requirements, no training requirements, no revenue commitments, and you can work with us as a reseller or managed services provider. We provide free training, free technical support. Tim mentioned a 2-week proof of value. So we'll provide that proof of value for your customers. Find an opportunity, engage us with that opportunity. We'll support you throughout the sales cycle, as well as that actually deploy on site for your customer. We have a deal registration program where you get enhanced margins as well as protection on that deal. So that's your deal, and no other partner would get that. And of course, we're going to support you with demand generation and marketing tools and co-funding of events. So we want to be able to create business with and for you. Next slide, if you could, Tim.
Yep.
So actions, next steps. What should you do next? Please visit our partner site on the Adlumin website. Feel free to schedule a demo with us for others within your organization, or a deeper dive demo based upon what Tim just showed you. There's just so much to the platform, but this gave you hopefully a little bit of a taste as to what we could do. But reach out to us and schedule a deep dive for yourself or for your customers. You know, we'll describe for you the Advantage program, and we'll describe for you the margins, industry-leading margins that you can make on the product itself. And then, of course, join the program and join us for future thought leadership series on a monthly basis. So with that, I'm going to take a quick look at see if there's any questions. I don't see any more questions in the chat or the Q&A. Oh yeah, we are going to, yes, one question. The session is being recorded, and we'll post it on our partner portal for our existing partners, and for anybody who attended the webinar, we'll send it out, and you can replay or distribute your organization.
Yep, absolutely.
So with that, I think we're all set. Tim, again, I want to thank you for the content that you provided today. Outstanding job. For all of you on the phone and the call today who are existing partners, thank you for your partnership and putting your trust in Adlumin. And for those of you on the call who are not yet Adlumin partners, again, we'd be willing to introduce you to the program, and be looking forward to working with you.
Yep.
With that, have a great day and a great week, and we'll talk to you on next month's broadcast.
Thanks, Jim.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.